I'm round here with both of my Mk2 Escorts. That's going to offer plenty of protection. This gap will definitely close considerably when this thing has an engine. But yeah, this was like 12 quid. Next job on the agenda, paint beneath there is clearly shiny. Disturbed by my good friend John having this Citroen BX delivered. Scabs of rust, which were hiding beneath the sealer and primer. You know, you've got to draw a line somewhere. Finally decided to dig out the wiring loom. Does look like just normal electrical tape. Found some overspray on one of the door seals. Doesn't really like being sprayed upside down. You know, quick 5-minute job cutting these out should help keep Heidi watertight. Hello and welcome to this video. I'm Marcus Hayes and today you join me back round at the garage and the weather looks a bit better than it has been recently. I'm round here with both of my Mk2 Escorts. Maud is of course on daily duties and Heidi has been getting quite a lot of my attention lately. And everyone seems to be enjoying watching Heidi come together slowly but surely in the videos, which yeah, I'm really happy about. Now at the end of the last video, you saw me put the rubber guard from Kent Europe on the inside of Heidi's wings. And it's obviously nicely dried now. It definitely looks a bit patchy, but to be fair, I was trying to apply this in quite bad wind, which isn't ideal. And even though it might not be perfectly even, there's definitely enough product everywhere on the inside of the wings, so that's going to offer plenty of protection. And yeah, the patchiness isn't going to bother me, seeing as you can't see it from the driver's seat. All right, there we are. Wings are on and Heidi's looking a little bit more like an Escort again. You can definitely see the new lower stance since I fitted the lowering springs in the last video, although this gap will definitely close considerably when this thing has an engine fitted. And it might even be too low. I do want to slam Heidi, you know, I like the look of a lowered car, but I also want to build this into a practical daily, so we'll see exactly how low she is when she's got an engine fitted. But yeah, these wings are definitely going to have to come off again. You know, this isn't the final fit. I've only put a few bolts in, 3 at the top, none at all down the A-pillar, the 1 in the bottom, and 1 out of 3 here. I was actually, when I got this wing half on, I was actually going to remove it again, because what I planned to do in the last video before fitting these wings today, but forgot, is to give the surfaces where the wings meet the car a coat of like gloss black or something, because those areas were keyed up in the last video, but I didn't put the rubber guard on them. But I think areas like this, I may end up using filler to shape things a bit better. I mean, maybe most of the filler will be in the actual front panel to make it meet the wing. But yeah, I think I should finalise jobs like that before I start worrying about, you know, painting the areas that meet the car, as I say. But that's another couple of parts that aren't clogging up my dad's garage. And I'm actually going to be spending some time now on another panel that has been stored in my dad's garage. But before I do, let me show you a couple of things while I think of it. Because the other day, I picked up this awesome trolley from, is it Lidl or Audi that do the Parkside stuff? Can't remember. But yeah, this was like 12 quid. And that'll be a nice replacement to the now broken blue plastic trolley that until the last video actually was holding up Heidi's front end. But yeah. What an absolute bargain. You wouldn't even be able to make one of these for 12 quid. The wheels alone would cost you more than 12 quid. Although I'm sure this has been manufactured in a country where things are a bit cheaper, shall we say. But I also picked this up the other day from our friends at Halfords. Just some copper pipe so that I can make up the brake lines for Heidi. And not sure if I'm going to do that in this video, but if not, it'll probably be the next video. Alright, so next job on the agenda, I want to prep the inside of this bonnet, which is looking in a right state. This is another bit of Heidi that has been attacked by a previous owner with some sort of primer, and we can't trust any of the primer that has been put on Heidi from previous owners. The door shuts of Heidi were all primered, and yeah, you know, when you're sort of attacking the bits that have bubbled up with rust, the primer's just chipping off, and you can clearly see that the original beige paint underneath was still shiny, which means, you know, nothing was prepped or anything. They've just hit it with the gun. And I suspect it's the same story with this bonnet. In fact, there's a bit I saw, oh yeah, over here. Don't know if that's showing up on camera, but that beige paint beneath there is clearly shiny. You know, the primer just hasn't stuck properly at all. So this is going to need completely bare metaling. One thing I'm not sure about with these Mk2 Escort bonnets is whether they had all this sealer on them. I mean, that doesn't, I mean, the original sealer on these cars was always messy, but that looks even worse. So please do let me know in the comments if you know. I can't refer to the bonnet fitted to Maud, my other Mark II, because that's a fiberglass one and I've already got rid of her metal one. And I can't even refer to the bonnet on Esther, my Mark I Escort, because she's got a carbon fibre bonnet. So yeah, if anyone knows, please do let me know in the comments. I've already removed the hinges and this spring that goes here. This will be going in the pile for the zinc platers, as will these hinge bolts, because they look in quite good shape. So yeah, I'll get them re-zinc plated. And I'm actually wondering, should I get the hinges zinc plated or should I paint them beige? So do let me know in the comments what you think about that. Not long after I got started hitting the bonnet with the wire brush on the drill, I was disturbed by my good friend John having this Citroen BX delivered, which he's just added to his fleet. I then decided to make up for lost time by using a knot wheel on an angle grinder, which removed the sealer and primer from the inner frame of the bonnet a lot quicker, although it did leave it a little bit patchy. And I discovered quite a lot of scabs of rust, which were hiding beneath the sealer and primer. On the flat bits, a DA seemed a bit slow, so I resorted to a flap disc on an angle grinder, being as careful as I could not to put any gouges in the metal. Then I used 80 grit discs on the DA sander to remove any paint patches that were left, but I started running out of light before I'd actually finished bare metal in the inside of the bonnet. And just look at those scabs of rust. The next day I came to the garage armed with some new materials, including some 40 grit discs for the DA, and just got stuck in with continuing the job of bare metaling the inside of Heidi's bonnet. After a few hours of work, it was time to hoover the dust off of the bonnet and then give it a degrease with this Kent Acrosol, which I just sprayed on and then wiped off. And then I got the Cure Rust out and applied it to the entire inside of the bonnet. Alright, unfortunately I don't have my microphone with me, so I hope you can hear me alright. But what an absolute mission this bonnet has been. So many scabs of rust everywhere. I mean, I could have carried on, you know, for hours and hours more with this, but, you know, you've got to draw a line somewhere. And in my opinion, all that sealer and whatnot that was put on this bonnet was to hide the rust scabs, which might have been a bit smaller when they did that. And then the rust has just grown beneath all that sealer. And yeah, they've obviously caked it in primer after they put the sealer on. Didn't prep anything, so, you know, it all had to come off. But going by the amount of scabs and that I found, I'm actually glad that it was a no-brainer to take all the primer and sealer off. I've removed these two bolts that hold the frame together. I think I'll get them zinc plated, although they would have been painted body colour originally. And yeah, after hours and hours and hours of attacking this with various abrasion tools, I've now got it in a coat of Cure Rust. I've basically just coated the whole thing in a thin layer of Cure Rust. And I should be able to give this a coat of epoxy primer just before I leave the garage today. You normally have to leave the Cure Rust for about 3 hours, and I think that'll just about be right when I do leave here today. So yeah, the fun stages of this job start now, which I'm happy about. But yeah, I've been around here 2 days now. Well, 2 half days, you could say. And all I've done is crack on with that bonnet. Finally decided to dig out the wiring loom. It looks like I was clever enough to label everything before I took this loom out of the car. A couple of things I haven't labelled, I've just left connected to things. So we've got the starter solenoid here. I also found the brake fluid reservoir cap attached to the loom over here. Well, I've actually got one of those on their way to me from a subscriber that very kindly offered to give me one. Hopefully it'll be in a bit better nick than this one. But yeah, this wiring loom, it's just so dirty and stuff. And, you know, now that the engine bay and you know, the whole of the interior of the car is painted, I don't think I can put this in the car as it is. I'm definitely not going to bother re-taping the loom. In the past, I've done my looms with electrical tape and got a lot of stick for it. This has been done with electrical tape by the looks of it. Yeah, that does look like just normal electrical tape. So I don't think I'm going to unravel this and retape it at all. I'll remove some of these parts and just label them instead. And yeah, I think I'm actually going to take this loom home with me and clean that up. Another thing I've just dug out are the door seals. And they're actually in pretty good shape, which I'm glad about, because things like rubbers and stuff like that, you know, they do add up if you're replacing everything. But yeah, seeing as these are original seals and they're reusable, I will be reusing them. I did notice some overspray on one of them before, and I haven't noticed that here today. But when I find any overspray, I'll just clean it off with thinners. But I've just done a little bit of a test on this bit over here with this cockpit spray, which actually looks like it does a good job. I literally just gave that a quick rub, and yeah, that's come up really presentable. So I'm going to give these a clean with this stuff. As I say, any overspray or anything like that I find, I'll go over with thinners first. And yeah, these should look pretty sweet. And yeah, I may as well bung them on the car before I leave today. It wasn't long before I found some overspray on one of the door seals, and the thinners didn't remove it as easy as I was hoping. I was able to scrape most of it off with a Stanley blade, and then I attacked it again with thinners, but this time using a Scotch. That'll do. I'll just colour it in with a marker pen or something. Once I'd finished cleaning all of the door seals, I gave the door shuts a quick wax and then pressed the door seals into position on the lips of the door shuts. Alright, door seals are on, which means I could fit the doors pretty soon. There is a couple of things I want to do before the doors are ready to fit, which I'll probably do in this video. And I've also thrown the boot seal on. Still need to prep and paint these boot shuts, and because it's been covered in some sort of primer, I'm definitely a bit nervous to see what's hidden behind this primer, but we'll cross that bridge another day. Obviously pretty soon I'm going to be removing this boot to prep the inside of that, and I want to paint the boot hinges at the same time as painting the inside of the boot and the inside of the bonnet. Actually found another door seal in amongst my spares, so yeah, it looks in pretty good shape. So if I do notice that any of the others are ropey, then I've got a spare one. Don't know if that's a front or a rear, but yeah, maybe when this car is completely finished I will put brand new door seals on, but it's handy to have the old ones in good enough shape to fit for now. Anyway, I think it's about time I put a coat of epoxy on Heidi's bonnet. Now, I've actually got the bonnet propped up like this, so I think that's going to be easier for me to spray it rather than, you know, tipping the can up. I can just have the can up like this. It is a bit windy, but it's only epoxy primer. I'm sure I'll be fine. The Cure Rust should be okay to put the primer straight on top, but I think what I'm going to do, just to make sure that this goes as well as it can, I'm going to give the whole thing a quick key and then use a tack rag just to remove any surface dust, and then I'll hit it with the epoxy primer from my friends at Kent Europe. Once I've gone over the whole of the inside of Heidi's bonnet with the Scotch pad, I used Maud's engine to warm up the Kent epoxy primer. Massive thanks to my friends at BODICRAFT in Watford for hooking me up with these tack rags. Don't forget, use code MH10 for 10% off of everything at BODICRAFT. A tack rag is essentially a sticky rag that removes dust from a panel before you start painting. And once the dust was removed, it was time to shake up the epoxy and start spraying it on. I tried to keep it light and even at first, but I also wanted to get it in all the nooks and crannies, including trying to aim it in between where the seams are. And lastly, I put a coat on the flat bits. Got some major runs in places. I was trying to have the fan like the other way to get right up in there, and then obviously that ends up putting too much paint on, but I can tickle them bits back and just touch up the epoxy. I will give it one more coat before I leave it. I was actually just thinking, just as I was finishing this, I hope the overspray doesn't go on the doors in there, but it is quite far away, so I'm sure they'll be fine. But there's actually something I want to crack on with on these doors right now. Alright, so if you've been watching my videos, you'll remember that I painted the inside of these 3 doors with the 2-pack rattle cans from my friends at BODICRAFT. And before I did the paint job, there was a couple of little holes that I filled with fiberglass. You know, they weren't massive holes, so it would have made a right mess if I started taking them somewhere to get welded. And yeah, I just used fiberglass filler. For example, down here, there was a couple of bits. You can probably see inside there, the fiberglass sort of poking through. And then this area here, there's actually a screw that goes through that hole, but it was a bit thin and a bit rusty, so I sort of repaired that with fiberglass and just left a hole there. And yeah, I actually gave that area an epoxy prime. And then on this rear door, there was a couple of really small pinholes around here, and then there was a bit that was a bit dodgy around here. Now, a couple of you guys have been in touch to say that I need to put some sort of paint on the inside where those fiberglass lumps are, because otherwise that fiberglass will soak up moisture and then it will just cause a hole quicker than it's inevitably going to anyway. So yeah, I'm gonna put something on the insides of those bits of fiberglass. Now, I was going to use paint, but I think what I'm actually going to use is the Kent rubber guard that I put on the inside of Heidi's wings in the last video. Now, I'm not going to go mad with this, and I am literally going to try and get it just where the fiberglass lumps are, you know, on the inside of the holes that are repaired. Because what you don't want to do is block up these holes in the bottom of the door, which I've taped up, because they're drainage holes. So, you know, you need to leave the drainage holes as drainage holes. I've put tape on, you know, any holes that are close to where I'm going to be spraying, just because I don't want any rubber guard to come out and, you know, be on the beige paint. I have gone overkill. Over here, I've gone really overkill. And I'm going to try and be really, really light with it in there. Just put a thin coat in there, because you know, I don't want a big build in there that's going to make it hassle to put the rubbers in for the windows and whatnot. Now, the inside of the doors will get wax oiled, you know, towards the end of the project. But yeah, for now, I just want to try and get something on those little bits of fiberglass on the inside of the door. And the fact that this doesn't have like a wide spray pattern should mean that if I'm sort of as accurate as possible, I can sort of just get it onto the bit where I need it. But I don't think I'm going to be able to show most of this on camera. Like most aerosols, the rubber guard doesn't really like being sprayed upside down. So every now and again, I gave it a couple of sprays the right way up so that I could then continue. All right, job done. I don't know if you'll be able to see in there, but yeah, where there was a pink lump of fiberglass, there's now a black patch of the rubber guard. And that bit there, what needs to have a hole in it, I'll have to remake the hole, but that's not a massive deal. And then on this rear door, same story. I think I've hit where those pinholes were. They were really tiny, and I can't exactly remember where they were. You can kind of see a trace there. I think there was like 3, but I didn't want to cake it on that sort of channel thing. And over here, I think I might have gone a bit too heavy, to be honest, but as long as the window rubber goes in, it'll be fine. I don't think I actually put any filler in the bottom of this door, so I didn't really need to get that one out. But yeah, I'll chuck these back into my dad's garage, and I'll chuck a sheet over them this time. And yeah, I think I'll tidy all this mess up and then attack this bonnet with another coat of epoxy. Hopefully it's dry enough for me to tickle these bits back first. We'll see. Thankfully, I was able to sand down my runs from the first coat before giving the inside of Heidi's bonnet a second coat of the epoxy. I think that'll do. By the time I come around here next, be ready to put some high build primer on it. Hello, into a new day, and I want to start by sending a massive thanks and a shout out to a guy called Simon Beddoes, who very kindly sent me this brake fluid reservoir cap through the post the other day. Really appreciate that, mate. Now, today in my garden, I gave Heidi's wiring loom a bit of a clean with this Kent Europe degreaser stuff. It doesn't look much different than the last time I showed you it, but there was a couple of bits of this wiring loom, especially the engine bay end, that were, you know, covered in grease, and now it is a lot better. I am going to need to, you know, go through and clean every sort of contact, you know, as I sort of plug things in. A lot of these rubber grommets could do with, you know, scraping with a blade or whatever to make them look a whole lot better. But yeah, it's now at least clean enough for me to actually be willing to fit it back to the car. I've removed a couple of things. You've got this starter solenoid, this fluid reservoir cap that was just attached to the loom, I didn't realise, and this interior light, which I'm really glad isn't all yellow like most of them are. So yeah, I've labelled up the bits of the loom that were plugged into these pieces, and yeah, with those bits removed, it's going to make fitting the loom a whole lot easier. So yeah, this can go back in the car next time I go round to the garage. Now, I mentioned the other day when I was around the garage that I'm not going to bother rewrapping this loom. I know you can get the proper static tape that doesn't have glue on it. I'm not going to bother with that. What I don't think I mentioned earlier in this video is that I'm going to use that sort of corrugated sleeving stuff that you can actually wrap round the wires after the loom's fitted. You know, you don't have to sort of feed the wires through it because it's got a slit down the side of it. I know it's not original, but I think it offers a really neat solution. So the bits of the wiring loom that are in the engine bay, I'll use that stuff. The rest of the loom, where it's not seen, can just stay as it is. There was one bit of this loom where the tape that someone else has put on was sort of unravelling, so I'll just whack a bit of electrical tape over that bit. I'm not going to be fussing trying to make this loom look original. It's just a wiring loom at the end of the day. And another good thing about that corrugated sleeving stuff, let's just say I re-taped the whole loom and then found an issue with one of the wires, I'll then have to either unravel it all to find that wire to repair it, or, you know, once I've added a wire to replace whatever wire isn't working, I'll then have to wrap the whole loom up again. Whereas with that corrugated stuff, you can literally just add wires and, you know, modify the loom whenever you want, right? And then just put that corrugated stuff back around it. So that's what I plan to do. Now, another thing I've been working on here at home is making these gaskets. Now, these are for the door hinges. I've actually got one of the sort of spreader plates that goes on the inside when you bolt the doors on, and I was basically using this as a template to make up 8 of these gaskets. Now, this gasket paper, someone actually gave to me at a show, I think a couple of years ago now. They gave me a massive stack of this gasket paper. It's really like decent stuff. It's like sort of foamy stuff. It's not just paper. So yeah, really like this stuff. I can't for the life of me remember the guy's name that did hand me that gasket paper at a show, but massive thanks to you if you're watching. Now, I'm not sure if the cars came with a gasket that goes, you know, between the hinge and the A and B pillars, but I want to try and make Heidi as waterproof as I can, right? So, you know, potentially having a little gasket on each one of the hinges is going to mean that no water can get in where the hinges are. So I think it'll be a good idea. And it also might mean that because these gaskets are going to get squished up when you do the hinges up, that might mean that the paint won't get cracked around the hinge, whereas it may have otherwise done. I don't know. But yeah, you know, quick 5-minute job cutting these out should help keep Heidi watertight. So I'll be taking these bits round to the garage tomorrow. Actually, me and my beautiful girlfriend Kat are going to go round to the garage for a couple of hours. I've got to dig out all the bits that I need to get zinc plated next. I need to have a bit of a tidy up round at the garages, and Kat's going to help me fit some parts to Heidi that's going to help with the tidying up process. But I'm actually going to start a new video tomorrow when we go round to the garage. Now, this video to me seems like I haven't got enough done, but Heidi's bonnet did turn into an absolute mission, although I am really glad that it's now an epoxy primer, because it means that yeah, I can start cracking on with the more fun stages of that job. Obviously still need to tackle the inside of the boot and prep the boot hinges as well. I might actually prep the inside of the boot and the boot hinges off camera, and then yeah, just show you them when they're sort of ready to paint along with the inside of Heidi's Heidi's bonnet. But yeah, as I say, it doesn't feel like I've done enough in this video, but that's just the way it goes sometimes. And I know that loads of you guys are enjoying the regular updates on the build of Heidi. But yeah, still a long way to go. So for now, I'm going to end this video here. If you did think it was any good, please do give it a thumbs up and a share. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Click subscribe if you're new. Feel free to follow me on Facebook, TikTok and Instagram. Check out my website for merchandise and car parts. Don't forget, I'm going to be releasing the t-shirts, sweatshirts and hoodies that feature the new designs of Esther, my Mk2 Escort, and Maud, my Mk2 Escort, on the 1st of February. Loads of people have been asking me when they're going to be back on the website. So yeah, literally in a matter of days, and the stock is low, so definitely grab those whilst they're available. Massive thanks as always to my patrons for your ongoing support. I'll leave all the links to everything in the description along with my email address for anyone who wants to contact me. But other than that, until next time, thanks for watching.